Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Jamie and today I'm going to show you guys how to crochet these pouches. We have one pouch, 4 different ways. It's really just one pattern for the pouch and then 4 different types of buttons or closures. So for the first one, we have our basic button, very cute, very simple, very dainty. We know her. Then we have the tiny flower / star crochet button. And then one of my favorites is the large crochet flower button. And then for the 4th and final one, we have the bow crochet closure. And yeah, if you guys want to follow and connect with me on my socials, I have my TikTok, Instagram, and my website. On my website, you can find different blog posts about fashion and crochet. On the blog, there will also be the written pattern for these bags. In case you're more of a written pattern type of girl, you just want to read it out and see what I'm talking about, you can check it out on there. You can also tag me in your photos. I would love to see what you make, your different colorways and all of that. I'm super excited to see what you guys come up with. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. For materials, you're going to need some yarn. I'm using 4 weight yarn, a pair of scissors, your hook. I'm using a 5mm hook. A 5mm is also fine. And then a needle to weave in your ends, and then also to sew on the buttons. So I'm going to be doing a different color scheme for each wallet. And then also this project is really great if you have some scrap yarn that you want to use up. This will probably still have a lot to it after I'm done making it. So yeah, great if you have a bunch of scrap yarn. To start, you're going to make a slip knot and then place it on your hook. Then you're going to chain 31. You can make your wallet smaller or larger. Just know that whatever you chain, we're going to fold it in half. So if you chain 31, because the extra 1 stitch just accounts for the slip stitch, so it'll be like 30. So if you chain, say 31, our bag is actually going to be like 15 stitches wide. But if you chain 20, it's going to be 10 stitches wide, and 40, 20, and so on. So next, we're just going to run our fingers down the chain, ensuring that all the stitches are flat and are not twisted, because if they are, our bag will be twisted. And then you're going to slip stitch into this first stitch right here and chain 1. I like to tighten my little slip knot. Now we're just going to single crochet around for 30 stitches. Once you reach the end of your row, or once you're back at the beginning, you're going to slip stitch into your first stitch, chain 1, and then turn your wallet so it's like inside out. And then we're gonna, at the end of each row, we're gonna turn our work so that the slip stitch line that we make stays straight and it doesn't start to like lean or like curl around the bag. So for the next 14 rows until row 15, we're just going to single crochet around, and like I said, continuing to slip stitch and chain 1 at the end of each row. And just a heads up, because we turn our work, the last space is going to be a little tricky. So the last space is this stitch right here. It's the stitch closest to like our chain 1, and then we'll single crochet into that. And then the first stitch, when you turn your work, is not this space right here. It's not that space, it's this space. So this is our first stitch and that is our last. That is the slip stitch that we made. Okay, so I've reached row 15 and I've chained 1. So now I'm going to crochet 15 stitches. This is serving as our little flap that will go over the bag. So I just did the first row of 15 stitches. Now we're going to chain 1, turn our work, And for 7 more rows, so for 8 rows total, we will just crochet 15 going back and forth. Okay, so for this next row, we are going to single crochet for 6, then we're going to chain 3, and then single crochet starting in the stitch after that for 6 more. So let's go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this chain 3 is going to serve as our buttonhole space. So you can make it larger depending on the size of button or closure you're gonna make, or you can make it smaller. For this size bag, I usually make the button size a little larger, so I'm going to do 3. Also, if you were to change how many sizes you want the buttonhole to make, you would also have to decrease this amount that you crochet just so it's not like over here. But yeah, so then we're going to count 1, 2, 3 on here and single crochet in the 4th, and then single crochet for the next 5. Then you chain 1, and then for our very last row, you're just going to single crochet back down this row, making sure you go into this chain 3 space. So we see our chain 3, I go in the top like this, go through the other side. Sometimes it can be tricky, especially if you chain a really tight chain. So I would recommend making it a lot looser. There's 1, 2, and here's number 3, and then the last 5, 6. And then you're just going to chain 1, and boom. Barely made it guys. Gave a yarn chicken and I won. Okay, so the base of our bag is done. So now we are going to flip it inside out and make sure it's folded in half the right way. You don't want it to be a little bit off, because if it is, your bag will look like that, or your bag may look like this. So make sure that it is folded nice and right, so that when you fold the top down, it looks like that. So we are going to be closing this bottom portion of our bag off. So go ahead and take some yarn and make a slip knot. I like to start where I started my bag, so where this beginning tail is, and then I insert my hook at the very edge, like right here, and then put my yarn on my hook and pull it through and chain 1. Now I like to do single crochets to close my things off, but you can do slip stitches or whatever makes you feel comfortable. I just like single crochets because I feel like it gives it a nicer finish and it doesn't look like all puckered up, is the only way I can describe the way it looks with slip stitches. But yeah, I'm just going to single crochet this side together all the way down. Going in this front side, going in the other side, and pulling them together. That is how you single crochet stuff together. Okay, so once we get to the end, it looks like you made your last single crochet, but as you can see, there's a whole lot of space over here. I like to just pick a space, usually like the very edge corner, and do a single crochet there. I find that it just gives it nice sharp corners. You could even start your single crochet on this side too, but it's fine with me. So I chained 1, and now I'm just going to go ahead and cut my yarn. Boom. Nice and tight. And then for this side where we had our 2 strings, I like to go ahead and tie a knot so it's extra secure. and it will not be coming out anytime soon. Pull it nice and tight. Now grab your little needle, or you can do it with your hook, whatever materials you have available. And I'm just gonna weave in all of my ends. The way I like to put my yarn inside my needle is fold your yarn in half so that you get like a little loop. Then take your hook or your needle with the little eye and kind of just wiggle the yarn through until you're able to pull it, and it's all there. And then I just find a couple spaces, like 3 to 4 loops, push my needle through there. Then I go back, I skip the first loop and go back through the other loops and even like another random one. And that makes it extremely secure. Then you go ahead and cut your yarn. Okay, now we can flip our bag inside out, poke out those corners, and boom, you've got a little pouch. Okay, so now that we've made our base pouches, let's go ahead and do some closures. I'll teach you guys how to sew on your buttons and even crochet some buttons. We are going to first start by making a slip knot, putting it on our hook, and this is literally the first step out of 2 steps. You are going to chain 51. So I have my chain of 51, and I'm just going to make a little tail and cut my yarn. So it looks like this. Next, the second step out of the 2 is to just tie this string into a bow. So however you like to do that, just tie it into a little bow. You could also make the chain shorter or longer depending on the size of the bow that you want. 51 chains with weight 4 yarn usually get to about this size. You can do 41 or 30 or however much you want. Okay, so next I have some yarn and my needle, and we are just going to find on the bag where our buttonhole is supposed to lay. So there is our buttonhole, and I would say the button is supposed to lay like right here. So I'm just gonna place it right there and just sew it on. I like to leave a tail, and I only sew around the center part so that the sides are able to freely move. This, and then I like to tie a knot. Okay, then I'll sew around the center a couple more times just to make sure it is secure. Okay, then I'll go to the inside, tie knot one more time. Tie in my loose ends. Okay, so I trimmed the tails off that, weaved in my ends. Now all that's left to do is just feed this through the little hole. And boom, got a little bow bag. I also meant to mention, but before you add your button, this is also the step that if you want to make it a little bit more sturdy, you can trace this shape out with some fabric and then cut it out and sew it inside as a lining. If you guys want a tutorial on that, I totally can. It's very quick, it's super easy. You don't even need a machine. You can just hand sew it if you would like, but that's just a little side note. Okay, so the next closure is just your basic button. So I have my button and my needle and yarn. So like the one before, we are just going to find where our button should be laying, and I would say it's about right here-ish, which is like row 1, 2, 3, 4. between rows 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, lay your button on top of that area. Then you're just going to take your needle and from the inside of the bag, push through the first hole. It may take a little while to find where it is. Push it through there. I think I'm going to make it go a little lower. Okay. Pull a little tail, leave a little bit. Then we're going to go diagonally, so through this hole right here. Pull through the bag. Make sure you don't sew through the other side. Then we're going to go in the empty hole right here, pull through, and to this empty hole at an angle again. Now, instead of just repeating that again, what I'm going to do is take my needle and push it through just the first layer of this bag behind the button, like this. Now, I'm going to take my yarn and wrap it around a couple times. 4 to 5 times is fine. Then I'm going to go back through the bag again, like that. Now you can tie it off and cut your yarn and weave in your ends. And boom, we have a basic button closure, just like that. Next, we will be making a flower button. For this button, you will be needing 2 different colors. One color for your center of the flower, and then the second color for the petals. To start, take the center color, and we are going to make a magic ring and single crochet 5 into it. So chain 1 and then single crochet 5. Now we are going to do a color switch. So I'm going to pull my loop tight. And I'm going to insert my hook into my first stitch here. And instead of making the slip stitch with this color, I'm going to grab my second color, make a slip stitch, put it on my hook. I'm going to pull it through all 3 of these loops like this, and then chain 1. Okay, so now we have our first chain. Now we're going to chain another one for a total of 2. Then we're going to add 3 treble crochets into the same space. So how you do a treble crochet is essentially just a double crochet with another loop. So instead of wrapping the yarn around 1 time for a double crochet, we're going to wrap it around twice, and this is a treble crochet, so it's going to be 3 levels. So we're going to go into our loop, pull up our yarn so that we have 4 loops on our hook. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2 of those loops, so now there's 3. Yarn over, pull through another 2. So now there is just 2 loops left on our hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 again. And now we're just going to add 2 more treble crochets into the same space. Okay, so I have 3 treble crochets. Now I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the same space. So there's a lot going on in one space. It's going to feel very bulky, but just make it work. Now we're going to slip stitch into this next space and repeat that same process. So chain 2 and then add 3 treble crochets into this same space. Now chain 2 and then slip stitch into that same space. and then slip stitch into the next stitch. Now we are going to repeat that again until we come back to our very last stitch. So I've made my very last petal. So I'm just going to, honestly, you can chain one and cut your yarn here, but I really like to make this feel like it's connected and it's not like, I don't know, it has a weird look. So I'm just going to go into this chain two space right here and do my slip stitch in there, and then I'll chain one and cut my yarn. And leave a nice tail for sewing it onto the bag. Also, go ahead and pull this center string tight so that the center of your flower doesn't have a big gaping hole in it. And since our yarn is all the way over here on the side, you're gonna have to feed it through a couple stitches to get it to the center. Okay, so I got it to the center of the flower, and so now I'm just gonna go back to that row in the center, and all you have to do is just put it straight through the stitch, and it'll do just like that. Now we are going to put it back through the bag and through the center of the flower, or adjacent, wherever you want to put it. Did like right there. Pull that through. Put it through this top and the middle of the bag. And boom, just like that. And I'll do that probably 1 to 2 more times just to make sure it's secure. And then just how we sewed the pink button, we are going to do the same technique. You are going to put your needle through the first layer of the bag and underneath our little flower and pull it through. Now you're going to take the yarn and wrap it around the flower 3 to 4, 5 to 6 times, however many times you want to do it, honestly, until there's just space in between the flower and the bag. Then we're just going to put the yarn back through the bag, come out through the inside, just like that, and go ahead and tie yourself a knot to secure it. Cut it. Okay, boom. Now we have a little flower. Just open that up. Pull it through. Boom. Okay, for our last button, we will be doing a star. So starting off with our yarn, we are going to do a magic ring. If you can't do a magic ring, the easiest way to get that loop is to chain 2 and then slip stitch into the first chain. I'll give you an example. So slip stitch, chain 2 or 3, and then slip stitch into this first stitch right here, and you'll have this little hole in the center, and that's what you would work around, making like your single crochets, half double crochets. And then when you want to tighten the loop, you take this string and then you would pull on it, and that would make it smaller. So we're going to do a magic ring, and then we're going to chain 2. Now we are going to do a single crochet and then a slip stitch. We are going to repeat this, doing another chain 2, then do a single crochet and then do a slip stitch. Chain 2, single crochet, slip stitch. Chain 2, single crochet, slip stitch. And we're going to do this until we've done it a total of 5 times, so we'll have 5 points. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to do it one more time. So chain 2, single crochet, and a slip stitch. Then I'm going to close my loop, pulling it nice and tight. Or chain one, and then pull my yarn. I'm going to take this string that's on the side and I'm going to weave it into the back so that we can hide it. Okay, and for the center one, this is the one I'm going to use to attach it. And I'm just going to find where that buttonhole lies, put it through the center, pull it through, and same as the other two buttons, just going to weave it in a couple times through the center, making sure it's nice and secure. Okay, then I'm going to bring it through the center, behind it, wrap it around a couple times, go back through, and then we're going to tie a knot and weave in our ends. So just going to pull it through, and boom! We have a little flower / star. Okay guys, that is the end of the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoy and I hope it was so easy to follow. I hope you guys are able to make one of these cutesy mini little pouches. If you do, do not forget to tag me on my socials, my Instagram, TikTok, and my website. On my website, you can find different blog posts to read or the written patterns to follow. So yeah, I would love to show you guys some love for using my pattern, and happy crocheting!